Sabaha everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I have for you my initial impressions of the brand new Reno 10x zoom. This device is promising us a lot of things. First and foremost, obviously the latest specs, massive battery, but we're also talking about fast charging, really fast charging. Supposedly the fastest on the market, VOOC 3.0 from OPPO. The other thing, of course, is we have a pop-up mechanism for the camera, as well as some crazy camera setups in the back, giving us up to 10 times hybrid zoom, and that's what basically makes it the Reno 10x zoom. This is TK, and let's go ahead and see what makes the Reno 10x zoom so. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we have new videos like this on the channel. And here we have it. The box is very nice. We can definitely see that little stripe that's going in the back, similar to the way we have it here. And it looks really nice. This is the OPPO Reno 10x zoom. Now, there was two different versions of the Reno that was basically showcased on the floor. There's the Reno 10x zoom, and then there's the standard Reno. The difference in optics essentially is right there on the back. You'll notice that there's triple camera setups here, a 48 megapixel sensor, 13 megapixel telephoto, and an 8 megapixel wide length, well, basically an ultra wide lens, where the Reno only had two sensors in the back. That's a 48 megapixel, both again similar to the one that we have here, which is the IMX586. But then we had a secondary camera that basically was a 5 megapixel camera used to do that depth information, so the ultra clear images. So just keep in mind, if you're looking at three cameras in the back, that's the 10x zoom, and if you see two cameras in the back, that's the one that's the regular Reno. Now, as far as what we get in the box, and what we have here is just some paperwork, some leaflet information here. The phone is centered right there. Some of the main benefits, of course, is 10 times hybrid zoom, a 6.6-inch OLED panel. It's a 1080p panel that we have here with no notch. You'll notice right there, they're giving us kind of like the outline of it. An ultra night mode, and of course, a massive 4065 milliamp battery supported by VOOC Flash Charge 3.0. Ridiculously, one of the fastest chargers on the market. I'll go ahead and take the phone out. And of course, there's just some information there. And the rest of the stuff in the box, they do include a case. This is a very nice case that's made specifically for the Reno. So you basically get that nice soft fabric on the inside. It covers all the openings. And it also allows us to still use the front-facing camera, which is a very unique feature here. So you'll notice right there, fits very nicely. Gives us that opening. It's just kind of really very nicely designed camera array here, as well as just a very nicely designed case, as well as the opening right there. Wired USB-C cables, and again, these are OPPO headphones with some additional tips, and you know, they pretty much look very nice compared to the fact that we don't usually get headphones with any devices at this time. And here we have it. This is a UK style, or I'm assuming a European style. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below if you guys know what style this is. I know the UK style is usually the massive three-prong. This must be a different market, but we'll need an adapter for it, and we have a green USB-A port here to be used with the, of course, what we have here is the USB-C to USB-A cable to do, obviously, charging this device using VOOC 3.0. Last but not least, we have a SIM removal tool and no USB-C to USB, 3.5mm headphone jack adapter. Well, they include headphones, so you're definitely getting everything you need in this box. This is a 6.6-inch OLED screen panel, and what we have essentially is a full HD resolution, a 6000:1 contrast ratio, and of course a screen-to-body ratio of 93.1, which is ridiculously high considering the fact. And of course, first thing we're greeted with is ColorOS 6.0, but I wanted to show you guys real quick the fingerprint sensor. Let's just show real quick here, unlocking. It does get a lot better the more you use it, and it works really nice. Now, the front-facing camera, as we talked about at the beginning, it does have that nice little shark fin option here, and it turns on, as you notice, it kind of pops up, so the camera is sitting all the way on the right side. You can see it right there. But it doesn't just serve that. There's the built-in speaker that's inside of it, as well as the fact that we have the rear camera's dual-tone LED flash. So if you ever use flash on your rear camera and you're using the back sensors, the shark fin option will come up right away. And of course, when you're not using it, it just goes away and you'll close it. And as far as the fingerprint sensor, it is built in beneath the display, and you can definitely unlock the device very quickly. I feel like the OnePlus 7 Pro is a little bit faster, but definitely very nice on the Reno 10x zoom. Again, the 6.6-inch display here is covered by Corning Gorilla Glass 6.0, or the new version, the 6th generation of Corning Gorilla Glass, and we do have a pre-applied screen protector that's already out of the box. As far as what we get here with the actual UI, this is basically ColorOS 6.0. If you're not familiar with it, OPPO has their own skin on top of Android 9.0 called ColorOS. As far as the specifications that we have on this device, we have the CPH919, that's the model number, version 6.0 on top of Android 9.0, that's ColorOS for 6.0. We have the Snapdragon 855, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage in the model that we have here, with the security patch update of May 5th, 2019. So running the latest security patch update on this. I do want to mention though that there was a one one update that did get pushed to the device as soon as I turned it on, so I let that apply, and that's why we are running basically the latest security patch update. This is a dual SIM supporting device, so that's why we have two SIM options here on the bottom. But again, once we have any SIM card inserted, we'll have more information as to which number is assigned to which one. So looking around the actual device, we have an accented power button on the right side with one of the antenna bands. On the left side, we have a volume rocker and the two additional antenna bands. On the top, we have that shark fin camera module for the 16 megapixel front-facing sensor, the front-facing earpiece that's also married to the bottom firing speaker to give us stereo speakers, as well as the dual-tone LED flash that's positioned on the back of the shark fin to be able to give us basically the LED flash whenever we're using it with the back sensors. Now on the back, as I mentioned to you guys, we have three cameras. We have the 48 megapixel sensor. We also have a telephoto lens at 13 megapixels and an 8 megapixel wide angle lens that's built in here. We don't have an LED flash, but we do have the LED autofocus in one of the microphones. And basically this is more of a resting finger, I feel like. This is where so you know that you're going up too high before you put your finger in front of the camera. It is designed by OPPO, of course, OPPO right there. On the bottom, we have a USB-C, one of the additional microphones, the dual SIM card tray that's built into the bottom, as well as the bottom firing speaker. Fingerprint sensor, as I showed you guys, works very, very nicely. And of course, the UI here is ColorOS 6.0. We have a smart assistant that's sitting on the left side. We have the ability of initiating gestures on here. As you can see, I'm using gestures. And the gestures that I have in here are really nice. They actually have a lot of customizations when it comes down to gestures. In the settings tab, you'll notice that the organization is a little bit different than what we see with normal Android. And what I mean by that is this is basically based on ColorOS. So first option, we have airplane mode, dual SIM network connections, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and additional settings. We can go in there for NFC, tap to pay, Android Beam, Wi-Fi Direct, DLNA, all of the options that you normally expect related to connectivity. Second option we have is notification bar and status. You can go in there and turn on the battery percentage, as I have that there, real-time network speed, notification prompts, and of course allow the notification bar in lock screen, so in case you do want to turn that on, and show banner notification in full screen. Display brightness, we can go in there and customize the different options, the full screen display, the night shield, as well as the low bright, and you can actually customize the timing of when night shields turn on to turn off some of those blue colors. Out of the box is set to be default. You can go warmer or cooler. I like it to keep it where it is. And then of course, next options here is the home screen and lock screen options. Those are pretty much what you get if you just went into the settings of your launcher. But again, you can set the theme, the wallpaper, the home screen layout by default is set to be 4:6. I did change it to 5:6. And of course, app startup and closing speed animation right now is set to fast. So you can definitely customize it to be to whatever you'd like, as opposed to having to go into the developer options and be able to set all of that stuff. Home screen setup obviously it does have an app drawer, and it was set up this way out of the box. Now, silent and vibration, we have the option of customizing our options, normal stuff, and we do have Dolby Atmos support here, which is really, really nice to be able to support the speakers. So you can go in there, customize it to keep it in smart, movie mode, gaming mode, or music, and of course you can turn it on and off from this toggle. And of course we have the headphone monitor option that's sitting right there. Do not disturb, of course, you can turn that on for those abilities, basically limiting notifications during certain hours. Now, fingerprint passcode, this is where you'll be able to register your fingerprint as well as your face if you'd like to be able to use the front-facing camera for face unlock, although I feel like the fingerprint sensor is definitely very fast. Convenience aid is where we get some of the customizations. Now, this is where the navigation keys are. Out of the box, you do definitely have the normal navigation buttons. So you can turn them on, or you can just use standard navigation. So swipe up to turn on. We have virtual keys here that you can turn them on, basically, and you can customize whichever way you like. We even have the Android Pie options here, which is really nice if you'd like to turn them on. You can swap the keys. You can do swipe up gestures, and then you have multiple options to do that. You have the select back and sides, back on the left side or back on the right side. So I like to keep it this way, where my back is swipe up here to go to Recents app. Actually, I like to keep it the other way around. My mistake. This is how I like it. So I like to be able to swipe up on the right side to go to Recents and swipe up on the left to go back, as well as go home by swiping up in the center. Hide the gesture bar, multi-touch, and of course you can customize them. We have the ability of turning on the assistant ball, the smart sidebar, and of course gesture and motion. Now the smart sidebar is right here. It's positioned in a really nice place to give you access to some of the more frequently used apps, as well as some shortcuts that you can go in there and customize. So you can go in there and you can turn it on, and of course have it turn on in landscape as well if you'd like. The battery, as we talked, it does have a 4067 milliamp battery that's housed inside of this device, supported by the VOOC 3.0. High performance mode, whenever you wanted to kick in everything into for 100% and get the best out of the device. Just keep in mind, whenever you're in high performance mode, you are going to be consuming battery at a much higher rate. We do have an estimated battery life left, depending on what we have. Again, we're running really low. I haven't had a chance to charge it since I first opened it up out of the box. And under additional settings, you can change the keyboard setting, all the different options that you have in there. Again, a lot of the stuff in there. As far as software updates, you can go in there. It is running the latest version, and I did install the latest update. So ColorOS 6.0, and here is the build number if you'd like to actually check that out. Other than that, I think we're pretty much the standard app management clone app if you'd like to use it. We do have a game space here, and customizations for it are in here. You can turn it on and customize and add additional games if they're not showing in there. And there is actually an app that's sitting on the home screen that will give us the ability of using that. Game Assistant as well as game space and home screen, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. We'll go back. And of course, app split screen, you can go in there and customize by using the 3-finger gesture up to be able to put an application into split screen. And of course, last but not least, is the system applications that you can go in there and customize. Again, swiping, everything works really, really nice. Let's go ahead and jump in, and here it is, the game space. So you'll notice game space is very nice and very inclusive. You can go in there and go back into that settings tab that we were in there before. Swiping up from the bottom gives us access to brightness lock, basically smoothness and optimizations, network protections, and so on. It does give us basically how much battery life it is expected to give at this performance sphere. So right now it's in balance mode. So if I go ahead and click this, I want to be able to turn on basically performance mode or competitive mode, what they call it here. Essentially, it's the same. It'll optimize everything. And of course, turns on blocking, keeps us on the Wi-Fi, and it keeps the application running. Like I said, let's go ahead and launch PUBG real quick because I want to show you that side launcher. Now, you'll notice right there in the app, we have the side launcher functionality. We can actually use this for access to messages, screenshots, a notification, and reject calls. And of course, it goes away. If I swipe down from the right, it takes me back home. There is no dedicated button to turn this on, so you have to manually turn it on and turn it off. And of course, out of the box, there really wasn't that much installed. I did install Instagram. Let's go ahead and go home. I did install Instagram, Twitter, and of course PUBG, as well as play games. But other than that, everything else you see here, we have Opera, we have Google Chrome, we have Facebook installed. Looks like Compass is installed. Clone Phone is already in there. That's to transfer our information. Google Keep, Music Party is already in there. Phone Manager, of course. Play games. You have a phone recorder as well as a secure store. The theme store, as well as videos, YouTube. So just standard applications. Again, 256 gigs of internal storage. We should not have any problems there. But as far as the actual camera itself, we have a few options that we have to look at. The camera array on the back, basically, as I mentioned to you guys, we have a standard focal length of 48 megapixel sensor, a 13 megapixel telephoto, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. And to switch between them is pretty simple. You go 1, 2 times, 6 times, and at that point you start going into the 10 times, and this becomes non-usable at this distance. But this is the 10 times hybrid zoom that they're talking about. It just jumps into it. And of course, last but not least, we can jump into the ultra wide lens by jumping after that. So that's how we're able to jump in. In video, on the other hand, we only have 2 modes, 2 times zoom and standard time zoom. Just keep that in mind. As far as video recording, we have support for 1080p at 60 frames, 4K at 60 frames, as well as 720p at 60 frames. So you can set that in here in the actual settings, frame rate, lock it into the 60 frames if you like, since it's supported with all 3 modes. And then of course, right there in the camera, you can customize it and you can jump into it with the way you want using the back sensors. Now, flipping over to the front-facing sensor, we are basically having only the ability of going up to 1080p, but let's go into the settings and see. And unfortunately, it's 1080p 30, no option for actually jumping into 1080p 60. Let's do a quick video sample on the front-facing camera as well as the back-facing camera. So this is a quick sample of the front-facing camera. This is a 16 megapixel sensor on the brand new Reno 10x zoom, and the sensor is capable of going all the way to 1080p on the front-facing sensor. Unfortunately, no 4K on the front, but we do have 4K 60 on the back. So let's go ahead and switch over to the back-facing sensor. So here we are on the back-facing sensor on the Reno 10x zoom. I am using this to record up to 4K at 60 frames per second, but unfortunately I will be downgrading the video down to 1080p as my timeline is at 1080p. But you are able to actually see the smoothness and the audio quality whenever you're using it directly with 4K at 60 frames per second. And as far as actual, any kind of OIS presence here for stabilization says, all of this is handheld. The other thing we talked about at the beginning is that we have stereo speakers on this device. So for a quick audio sample, we're going to be playing Alex Scrindo Jumbo by NCS Release. It definitely does sound pretty good, and you're able to, again, as I mentioned to you guys, under the settings with audio, go into the sound option and then customize it using the Dolby Atmos options in here. Again, it's turned on to smart, but you can turn it on gaming, music, and of course customize it to your liking. When comparing it to the OnePlus 7 Pro, both of these devices share a lot of similarities. We have similar optics setup as far as basically a standard focal length, a wide angle lens, as well as a telephoto lens. We have dual tone LED flash, and of course different materials on the back. Now we do have a slightly bigger battery here at 4067 milliamps as opposed to the 4000. That's a small number change there, but we definitely have a faster charging pace here. We have VOOC 3.0 as opposed to what we have Dash, and Dash is rated to be very fast compared to what we've had before with OnePlus 7 devices. But to be able to basically say that Dash is faster than VOOC, that'll basically be part of the test I'll be doing for you guys tomorrow, as that's one of the reasons why I'm letting the battery on the right here on the Reno go all the way down to 0 or almost 1%. The camera itself, what we have here essentially is similar mechanisms. You can go in here, turn on, both the devices have pop-up mechanisms. Let's go ahead and turn it on. And both of them basically utilize them in a similar manner. We have them on opposite sides. The exception is that here we have the dual tone LED flash sitting on the actual camera sensor. On the left here, essentially just basically sits there and the flash is sitting right beneath the camera sensors. Now they both have that drop protection, so we'll get to do that. And the device will automatically bring it in. And then same thing here with the OnePlus 7. I'll go ahead and say close. Again, they protect the optics. They both have a very nice mechanism. No IP rating listed on either one of these devices. Both have stereo speakers. We do have slightly a higher display resolution here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, as this is basically running a QHD at 90 Hz, where we have a 1080p at 60 Hz running on the Reno 10x zoom. Even the standard Reno and the 5G will support the same screen resolution. But other than that, again, as far as speed, both running the Snapdragon 855. Both have variants. This one have basically 12 gigs of RAM, but there is going to be an 8 gig model, which is I think the 699 model. And then of course price and availability depending on the market that it's going in. Neither one of them has a 3.5mm headphone jack, but again, both the devices are very, very nice. And the fingerprint sensor is actually pretty good. And again, both support front-facing unlock. And of course, just the more you use it, the better it gets. And of course, this little side launcher is only present on the Reno, as this is actually a nice little shortcut. Kind of reminds me of the LG implementation of their new second screen, as when they took it away from the V30 or the V20, I think. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the brand new Reno 10x zoom? I'm very impressed with all of the information that we have in here. We have latest specifications, a mass amount of RAM, a lot of storage. Really basically just overall the aesthetics of it looks very nice. No notch, no teardrop. It basically utilizing the top mechanism for the pop-up camera to its fullest extent. The top speaker is in it, as well as the rear flash is set up built into it. So it's not just using it for the camera the way we've seen on other devices, let's say the OnePlus 7 Pro, where it only uses it for the front-facing camera. This one's actually multifunctional. So if you're taking a picture with the rear cameras and you need flash, the mechanism will pop up. But when you're listening to music, it doesn't actually have to pop up, as it actually just goes through that little slit that's sitting at the top, and it just gives us access to the stereo speakers. A lot of really cool things, and of course we'll have more content for you guys on the channel. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support, and again, I'll see you guys in the next video.